What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why next week is going to be very crazy as we have big pieces of economic data coming out, not to mention some big announcements from the president. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends at the end of March in just about 3 days from now. Anyways, as far as the market's going, this is not looking too good because I just want to say that we had this bear flag setup. In my video yesterday, I mentioned that we had our CPI report looking decent. So I was hoping we'd get a decent PCE. And if we got that, we'd be looking for some kind of like bounce move. But what happened was we got the opposite. And this is very unfortunate. So the PC data was decent except for two things. The core PC was actually kind of hot at 0.4% above expectations. So although the numbers are not super elevated, they were going up a little bit more than expected, and they're above expectations. Core PCE was at 2.8%. This was also above expectations, and that's not the best of news for the markets. This is part of why the market started to dip, and I did give you guys a warning about this in the morning. So yeah, it is what it is, guys. We weren't able to get a good PCE overall. Some of the metrics were very hot. And then that's despite the fact that CPI was decent. PCE showing that on the core side, things were kind of hot. So SPY started losing the support. As this happened, I redeemed myself by giving you guys another video update. I said that, if we lose 564, I was expecting us to dip to at least 558, and our next level was 555. We ended up dipping to these supports. So yes, things could change, and data could cause the market to dump. What also contributes why the market dumped was we got some more data from Michigan. So what happened was consumer sentiment was very weak. Right now, we're seeing a decrease in consumer sentiment, and we're seeing the 5-year inflationary expectations going up to 4.1%. And then we also saw the other inflationary expectations going up to 5%. This means that Americans are not confident about the economy. We're expecting another surge in inflation, and there's lots of uncertainty associated with the tariffs that are coming up very soon. As a result of this fear and uncertainty, the market has been dipping, and we're seeing even more talk from the president. So, what did President Trump say this time? Let's actually go over this. President Trump is saying that April 2nd is going to be the Liberation Day, and now he's threatening more tariffs on pharmaceuticals. So, first, it was the auto tariffs. He was saying they're going to be around 25%. He wants to incentivize manufacturers to produce in the US. Now he's saying that he wants to increase tariffs on pharmaceuticals and lumber. So, keep that in mind. This is going to be very important because it's going to be affecting a lot of these companies. It's going to be affecting the economy and everyday Americans. So keep all of this in mind. This may cause a big disruption, at least in a lot of different industries. So that happening, he also mentioned that we have to be very, very open to the fact that he's planning April 3rd to be the day at which they impose these. So he's saying that in the beginning, he's going to make his announcement on April 2nd. I believe that's Wednesday. Let me just double check it right here. Yeah, so Wednesday, April 2nd is when President Trump is going to make the announcements, right? That he wants to increase tariffs this much, this much, this much. And then he's going to give us more specific details. So it's going to shake the markets. And then he said that on April 3rd, that's when they're going to impose them. That's when they're going to be trying to impose those auto tariffs. That's when they're going to possibly impose even more tariffs on lumber, pharmaceuticals, and etc. So that's the concern that's coming to the markets right now, right? We initially were told that the tariffs would be very lenient. Now there's fears that there's going to be a bigger blanket of them amongst different industries. So we have to be very careful. And then on top of that, the president said that he wants the auto tariffs to be permanent. He wants them to be permanent during his presidency. So obviously, this is just talk right now because with negotiations, things could be delayed, things could change. We'll have to see about that. But as of right now, if you look at the last couple of weeks, he's been hyping up April 2nd, saying it's going to be a very, very big day. Huge tariffs are coming, and we'll see what that leads to. So please keep this in mind. Now, that's what he's basically saying so far. With the reciprocal tariffs, this is incentivizing countries to lower tariffs in the US, such as like India. I don't have too many updates from different countries yet. There was some talk from the EU about retaliation and things like that, but it's not too crazy yet. I think what countries are doing is they're waiting to see what he says on April 2nd, and then they're going to make their moves from there. That's what we heard from the EU. But so far, India wants to decrease their tariffs in the US, and we're seeing other countries that may follow similar paths. We'll see about that, though. Nothing's guaranteed yet until we hear what happens on April 2nd. Now, on top of this, there's been some talk about how, um, with these tariffs coming, there's uncertainty about what the effects are going to be, and that's what Jerome Powell said. So we don't truly know to what extent inflation is going to go up, and that's why Powell is saying we have to wait and see what happens with the data first. And then with all of that going on, there was also some news that the San Francisco Fed president, Mary Daly, so she said some very important things about the economy. She basically said that there's uncertainty about the tariffs. But despite that, the current central bank has its benchmark lending rate unchanged, expecting about only 225 basis points reductions by the end of 2025. So the Fed may only cut 2 times this year. Keep that in mind, only 2 times from what they're projecting. They may have to cut faster if things start breaking sooner than expected. They may be in that position if the US economy starts taking a hit. As of right now, the data they show us does not show that, so they're going to be very patient. But Daly also noted that there could be more costs. We are expecting higher costs from tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, according to her. And they have no reason to rush to judgments because policy is in a good place and the economy is still in a good place, according to Daly. Now, things could change because of the tariffs. And like I said before, we have to wait and see what the total impact is going to be. And they have to learn the scope of things, the magnitude of inflation. So that's what they're saying for now. The Fed is basically in a pause phase. They're waiting to see what happens with these tariffs. They think we might get 2 cuts for the year still, which is just, a very few amount of them. And we'll see what this leads to. So keep all of this in mind. This is similar and almost identical to what Cash Kari from the Fed said a couple of days ago. He mentioned that the Fed is fighting inflation. They have to monitor the jobs market, and then we don't know what's going to happen with these new tariffs. So keep that in mind. Let me go over a couple more things. This is what the earnings calendar looks like for next week. So keep in mind, next week is going to be the last time we ever see March of 2025 because April is going to be starting on Tuesday. And that means that it's going to be the end of Q1. Okay, so the end of Q1 is coming, which means that we're going to be announcing big tech earnings soon, probably in the next couple of weeks, starting like the week after next week, maybe later. So keep that in mind. Big tech earnings will be starting soon. For now, it's going to be a very quiet earnings week for next week until we see the storm. It's the calm before the storm. And then finally, the market's extremely fearful. It's all the same stuff, guys. Everything's just extremely fearful. The VIX is breaking out right now. It also has a gap to fill above, so it's a concerning sign. With that being said, what's happening for next week? Let's go over this and I'll talk about the charts. So, next week on Monday, it's going to be the most quiet day because we just have some data involving crops, and that's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy. But then Tuesday is when we have our JOLTS job report. Then we have some manufacturing numbers from the ISM. That's very important. The most important thing is going to be the manufacturing new orders. I think that gives us insights about how supply is looking. So keep that in mind for Tuesday. It's going to be very important. Wednesday, the data is going to be quiet, but it's going to be April 2nd, which is Liberation Day, according to President Trump. And he's going to be announcing more tariffs. So President Trump is going to be talking about his tariffs on Wednesday. That's going to be huge. On Thursday, President Trump also said he's going to be imposing the tariffs officially. So that's going to be a continuation of what President Trump says. There's going to be a lot of news from the White House on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. And then simultaneously, we have the ISM services reports. This is now the services data that's going to be very important for the US economy coming out for Thursday. Finally, for Friday, we have our unemployment numbers. That's going to be super, super huge. And then we'll see what else is said then. But unemployment is going to be massive for the stock market because it impacts the Fed's policy and their decisions. So essentially, Tuesday through Friday is going to be massive. Lots and lots of big data. Excuse me, lots of big data. Monday's going to be a little bit more quiet. So keep that in mind for next week. Anyways, what do we see for the charts? Well, honestly, guys, we're not looking good. We have this bear flag that's formed. I mentioned to you all we have to watch for confirmation to see if we're going to bounce or get a rejection. If we lost 564, we were talking about this bear flag setup. And to be bullish, we want to see us get back above 568. Unfortunately, we lost support and we're currently dumping, so I do see a risk of us returning to these lows. We could be testing 548 to 550 if that fails us. We're looking for new lows. It's looking bearish. The QQQ is looking more bearish. We have a bear flag like setup as well. We're rejecting quite nicely, and we're going to likely be retesting 465, then eventually 460. Looks bearish, and we could be dipping even more from there. I think the IWM is going to be testing 197 very, very soon. Looks bearish. We also have a bear flag like setup, and we've got this big rejection with all the tariff fears and inflation fears. Same thing with the ES, bearish looking setup, bear flag. This looks like it's going for the low here around 55.60. So I do think we're going to be testing that as soon as next week. So anticipate more downside, guys. We still look quite bearish. NQ is looking weak, huge rejection. We need to try to hold 19,200 or 19,300. If we don't hold that, 19,000 flat could be coming. Bitcoin's looking weak. Got a big rejection here. We have to see if we can reclaim 85,000. Otherwise, we may continue to fall and respect a downtrend towards 82,000. So it still looks relatively weak. For Nvda, we have a double top here. Keep in mind we have 109 as our main support. If that fails us, we could be dipping towards 105. And we have to see if we can reclaim 112. Otherwise, we're going to continue to fall to 105. For Tesla, keep in mind we're also dumping over here. We're making this bearish divergence rejection. We also lost our 50 EMA. If we can't hold 263 next week, we dump to fill the gap to 250 at least, and we could be dipping lower. But I do see some more downside because of that. Apple got a huge rejection off a double top. I said we had to hold 220 to be bullish. If we lost it, we're looking for a dump. So we're going to be testing this 216 area. If that fills us, we have an imbalance to fill at 213. For others out there, we have Coinbase. Coinbase is looking bearish. We're rejecting pretty hard here. We're looking for this 170 area as our main support. For Amazon, we got this big rejection. We're looking for essentially 190 as our main support, then 180, 185 could be coming. But I do expect us to retest where this wick is the 190 area. Meta is looking relatively weak. We got to reclaim 580. Otherwise, it's going to be at risk of dipping towards 570 flat. Microsoft is looking weak. We're at support barely around this 375 area. I think we might be testing that. If it doesn't hold, it's not going to be looking good, especially with the new tariffs coming out. President Trump also said before, I don't know if he's going to announce it soon, but he did mention he might be increasing tariffs on semiconductors, which would not be good news for like Nvda and the others. But it's not guaranteed yet. We have to see what he says first. So keep that in mind. That's something he did mention in the past. Google/Alphabet's looking weak. Can we hold 155? If not, we're going to be at risk of starting to return to these lows down here to the low 150s, especially as we have this bearish distributive structure. We were trying to bounce very nicely. We just got a huge rejection, unfortunately, with all the tariff fears. So we're back to the tariff fears, and we're going to continue to remain bearish until we finally get the bounce. As of right now, we look bearish. GameStop's looking bearish. Could be returning to 20. AMC might be returning to about 2.84. And then the last thing I'm going to say is the VIX is looking bullish. I do want to call out there's a gap to fill at the 24.5 area. That suggests this is going to rocket upwards and the market has more downside. So for now, the charts look bearish amidst all the tariff fears. I'm not here to scare you. I'm not here to give you guys, bad news. I'm just here to tell you the truth. That's how the market looks. So we just have to accept it as it is. So keep all of this in mind. I thank you all so much for listening. Let's make this video short, and I'll be back with another upload very soon. I'm just here to give you guys the facts and just know that there's weakness for now. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Spend some time away from the markets, clear your guys' minds, and I'll be back with another upload very soon. Thank you for listening. Happy Friday, guys. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your weekend, and peace out.